My son lost his child because of me. It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday afternoon. My son Kevin called me at work asking if I could pick up his daughter Mia from daycare because him and his wife both got stuck in meetings. I said sure, no problem. I'd done it plenty of times before. Mia was 4 years old, loved dinosaurs, and always wanted to stop for chicken nuggets on the way home. I left work early, drove to Little Steps Daycare on 5th Street, signed her out at 3:30 p.m. exactly. She was wearing her purple jacket with the unicorn on it and carrying a drawing she made of our family dog. We got in my truck and she immediately asked if we could get nuggets. I said maybe later. Your mom's making dinner. Here's where everything went wrong. I stopped at the hardware store on Maple Avenue. Just needed to grab some screws for a shelf I was fixing in my garage. Told Mia I'd be 2 minutes. The store was right there. I could see my truck from the window. She had her tablet watching that annoying show with the singing vegetables. I went inside. Got distracted talking to Jim, who works there, about his new lawnmower. Then I remembered I also needed wood glue, went to the back of the store. Took maybe 15 minutes total. When I came back out, there was an ambulance in the parking lot. My truck was surrounded by people. The windows had been smashed in. Mia was on the ground with paramedics around her. She wasn't moving. Turns out the AC had shut off somehow. Maybe I didn't leave it running right, maybe she hit something, nobody knows. It was 89 degrees outside. Inside the truck, it got up to 120 degrees in less than 20 minutes, according to the fire chief who showed up. They rushed her to County Medical. Kevin and his wife Rachel got there before I even made it to the hospital because I was so messed up I couldn't drive straight. A police officer had to drive me. They worked on Mia for 2 hours. She had a seizure from the heat. Her brain swelled up. By 7 p.m., the doctors said there was nothing else they could do. Kevin didn't even look at me in the hospital. Rachel screamed at me in the hallway, called me a murderer, said I killed their baby. Security had to escort her away. The police questioned me for 3 hours that night. Asked why I left her alone, why I didn't take her inside with me, why I was in there so long. I didn't have good answers. They charged me with negligent homicide 2 weeks later. My lawyer said I'd probably get 2 to 5 years because I had no record and showed remorse. The trial was set for September. Kevin filed a restraining order so I couldn't come to Mia's funeral. I watched from across the street, standing behind a tree. There were maybe 100 people there. Her whole preschool class came. They released purple balloons because that was her favorite color. The trial happened in October. Took 3 days. They showed security footage from the hardware store of me talking and laughing with Jim while my granddaughter was dying 50 feet away. The jury took 4 hours, found me guilty. The judge gave me 4 years in state prison. Kevin gave a statement at my sentencing. First time he'd spoken to me since that day. He said I took everything from him. Said Rachel tried to kill herself twice since Mia died. Said I didn't deserve to be called Grandpa ever again. I reported to Greenfield Correctional on December 1st. I'm 6 months in now. Got 42 months left if I behave. Kevin sent me one letter. Just said Rachel's pregnant again. They're having a boy in June. Then yesterday, my cellmate Marcus pulled me aside during yard time. Said his cousin works security at County Medical, same hospital where Mia died. Said the security footage shows Kevin's car in the parking lot 17 minutes before the ambulance arrived. 17 minutes before anyone called 911. They were just sitting there while Mia was dying. Kevin said they were stuck in meetings, that they got there after me, but they were already at the hospital. Marcus said his cousin kept the footage, thought it was weird. Said if I want it, he could get it to my lawyer for an appeal. Marcus is standing right here, waiting for an answer. I stared at Marcus for what felt like a full minute. The yard was loud around us. Someone was playing basketball on the court. Guards were walking the perimeter. Everything felt too normal for what he just said. Say that again, I told him. Marcus shifted his weight. He was a big guy, in for armed robbery, had 8 years left on his sentence. My cousin Darius works security at County Medical, night shift supervisor. He reviews footage when there's incidents, makes reports, all that. After your granddaughter died, he had to pull all the recordings from that day for the police investigation. Okay, he saw your son's car. Silver Nissan Altima. License plate matched the registration they had on file because your daughter-in-law works there as a nurse. The car was in the parking lot at 3:47 p.m. Ambulance didn't get called until 4:04 p.m. My hands started shaking. I shoved them in my pockets. That doesn't make sense. Kevin said they got there after the ambulance. After I called him? Maybe he lied. Why would he lie about that? Marcus looked around, lowered his voice. I don't know, man. But Darius kept a copy of the footage. Said something felt wrong about the whole thing. He wasn't supposed to keep it, could lose it if found out. But he did it anyway. I felt sick. Not the regular kind of sick I'd been feeling since December. A different kind. The kind that starts in your chest and spreads everywhere. Where's the footage now? On a flash drive at Darius's apartment. He lives in Parkside, works 4 nights a week. I can get word to him if you want. He'd be willing to get it to your lawyer, no charge. He just thinks the truth should come out. I looked across the yard. There was a guy named Benny sitting on a bench reading a paperback. He'd been a paralegal before he got caught embezzling from his firm. He'd helped 3 guys with their appeals since I'd been here. If that footage shows what you're saying it shows, why didn't the police see it? I asked. Police requested footage from 3:15 to 4:30 p.m. They were looking at the parking lot cameras, the entrance cameras, the ER cameras. They weren't looking at the timeline before the 911 call because they had no reason to. They were building a case against you. They already knew you were the one who left her in the truck. They weren't looking for anything else. That made sense. Once they decided I was guilty, they stopped looking. What if it's not real? What if your cousin is messing with me? Marcus frowned. Darius doesn't play like that. He's solid. Been working that hospital for 12 years. He's got 3 kids of his own. When he heard about what happened to your granddaughter, it messed him up. He started looking through everything. That's when he noticed the Altima. A guard walked past us. We both shut up until he was gone. I need to think about this, I said. Don't think too long. Darius is getting nervous holding on to that footage. He was supposed to delete it months ago. If his supervisor finds out, he's done. Marcus walked away. I stood there for another 10 minutes before heading back inside. That night I couldn't sleep. I shared a cell with Marcus, 8 by 10 feet, bunk beds bolted to the wall, metal toilet in the corner. He was snoring on the top bunk. I stared at the ceiling. If Kevin was already at the hospital, that changed everything. The whole story he told the police, the whole statement he gave at my trial, all of it was a lie. But why? Why would he lie about when he got there? Why would he sit in the parking lot while his daughter was dying? None of it made sense. At breakfast the next morning, I sat with Benny. He was 62, skinny, had these thick glasses that made his eyes look huge. He was eating oatmeal and reading legal briefs someone had mailed him. Benny, I need to ask you something. He looked up. Shoot, if there's new evidence in a case. Evidence that wasn't shown at trial. Can you reopen it? Depends on the evidence. If it's material, if it would have changed the outcome, yeah. You file for post-conviction relief. Show the court that your conviction was wrong based on facts that weren't available during trial. How long does that take? Months, sometimes years. You need a good lawyer. You need documentation. You need to prove the evidence is real and that it matters. What if the evidence shows someone else might be responsible? Benny put down his spoon. Then you need to move fast. Because if someone else is responsible and they know you might have proof, they're going to do everything they can to stop you. I didn't eat the rest of my breakfast. After lunch, I had a visitor. My ex-wife, Patricia. We'd been divorced for 8 years, but she still came to see me once a month. She looked tired. She'd lost weight since December. She was wearing a blue sweater and jeans, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. We sat across from each other in the visiting room. Plastic chairs, table bolted to the floor, guards standing near the vending machines. "How are you doing?" she asked. "Fine." "You don't look fine." I didn't want to tell her about the footage yet. I needed to know more first. "Have you talked to Kevin?" I asked. Her face changed. "No, he won't return my calls." "Neither will Rachel." "When's the last time you tried?" 2 weeks ago. I called to ask about the baby, to see how Rachel was doing with the pregnancy. Kevin answered and hung up as soon as he heard my voice. "He's shutting everyone out." "Can you blame him?" His daughter died. His father is in prison. His wife almost died twice. He's about to have another baby and he's terrified something's going to happen, I wanted to tell her. I wanted to say that Kevin might have been lying, that he might have been at the hospital before anyone called 911. But I didn't. Not yet. I got a letter from him last month. I said instead. He told me Rachel's pregnant, that they're having a boy. Patricia's eyes got wet. I heard. I sent them a card. They didn't respond. We sat there for a while not saying anything. Then Patricia leaned forward. "I need to tell you something. I wasn't sure if I should, but I think you need to know." "What?" "I ran into Rachel's sister Jennifer at the grocery store last week. She didn't see me at first. She was on the phone talking to someone. I heard her say Kevin's name, so I moved closer to hear. And she said Kevin's been having panic attacks, that he's barely sleeping, that he keeps having nightmares about Mia. She said he wakes up screaming and Rachel can't calm him down. That's normal. He lost his daughter. That's not the part that bothered me. Jennifer said something else. She said Kevin keeps saying it's his fault, that he could have saved her, that he should have been there sooner. My chest tightened. What does that mean? I don't know, but it's been eating at me since I heard it. Why would Kevin think it's his fault? You're the one who left her in the truck. You're the one who went in the store. I looked at the guard. He was watching us. I lowered my voice. Patricia, I need you to do something for me. Don't ask why yet. Just do it. Okay. I need you to find out where Kevin was the afternoon Mia died. Exactly where he was. What time he left work. What route he took to the hospital. Everything. She stared at me. Why? Because I think he lied. Her face went pale. About what? About when he got to the hospital. That's insane. Why would he lie about that? I don't know, but I need you to find out. Can you do that? Patricia looked scared, but she nodded. I'll try. She left 20 minutes later. I went back to my cell and waited. That night, Marcus came back from his job in the kitchen. He worked dinner shift, got an extra 30 cents an hour. He climbed up to his bunk and lay down. I talked to Darius, he said. He's ready to hand over the footage whenever you want it. He just needs a name and address for your lawyer. I don't have a lawyer anymore. The public defender who handled my trial doesn't do appeals. So get a new one. With what money? I'm in prison. I've got maybe $400 in my commissary account. That's it. Marcus was quiet for a minute. Then he said, Benny knows people. Ask him. He might know someone who'd take it on contingency or pro bono. Why would anyone do that? Because if that footage shows what Darius says it shows, this is a big case. Wrongful conviction. Father lets his daughter die and blames his own dad. That's news. That's the kind of case lawyers build careers on. I hated that he was right. The next morning, I found Benny in the library. He was helping another inmate file a motion. I waited until they were done. I need a lawyer, I told him. For what? An appeal. New evidence. Possible wrongful conviction. Benny's eyes got big behind his glasses. What kind of evidence? Security footage that wasn't shown at trial. Shows my son was at the hospital before anyone called 911. Benny let out a low whistle. That's big, real big. You need someone good. Someone who won't mess this up. Do you know anyone? He thought for a minute. There's a guy in Summit County. Name's Lawrence Petty. He handles criminal appeals. He's tough. He's expensive. But he's won cases people said were impossible. How do I reach him? I'll write down his information. You call him Collect. Tell him Benny from Greenfield sent you. Tell him what you got. He'll tell you if it's worth pursuing. Benny wrote the information on a piece of notebook paper and handed it to me. I folded it and put it in my pocket. That afternoon, I used my phone time to call Lawrence Petty's office. A secretary answered. I told her I was calling from Greenfield Correctional, that I needed to speak with Mr. Petty about an appeal. She put me on hold for 3 minutes. Then a man's voice came on the line. This is Lawrence Petty. Mr. Petty, my name is Gerald Kane. I'm currently serving 4 years at Greenfield for negligent homicide. I was convicted 6 months ago. I've come across new evidence that wasn't presented at my trial. Evidence that could prove my conviction was wrong. What kind of evidence? Security footage from the hospital where my granddaughter died. The footage shows my son's car in the parking lot 17 minutes before anyone called 911. At trial, my son testified that he arrived after the ambulance. If the footage is real, he lied under oath. There was silence on the other end. Then Petty said, How did you get this information? Someone who works at the hospital. They kept a copy of the footage because they thought something was wrong. Is this person willing to testify? I think so. Where's the footage now? On a flash drive. The person is willing to turn it over. More silence. Then Petty said, Mr. Kane, if what you're telling me is true, this could change everything. But I need to see the footage first. I need to verify it's legitimate. I need to talk to the person who has it. And I need to understand why your son would lie. So you'll take the case? I'll look at it. No promises. If the evidence holds up, we can talk about representation. I charge $200 an hour for appeals. That's going to add up fast. Can you afford that? No. Then we'll figure something else out. First things first. Get me that footage. Get me the contact information for the person who has it. I'll take it from there. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't done anything. Call me back when you have something concrete. He hung up. I stood there holding the phone, my hands shaking. 2 days later, Patricia came back. She looked worse than before. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. We sat down in the visiting room and she pulled out a folded piece of paper from her purse. I did what you asked, she said. I talked to some people. I found out where Kevin was that day. And? He left work at 3:20 p.m. His office is on the east side, about 15 minutes from County Medical. He called you at 3:24 p.m. asking you to pick up Mia. He told his coworker he had to leave for a family emergency. So he left right after calling me. Yes, and there's something else. I talked to Rachel's coworker at the hospital. She said Rachel left her shift early that day. She clocked out at 3:18 p.m., said she got a call from Kevin and had to leave immediately. My stomach dropped. Rachel was already at the hospital when Kevin called me. Patricia nodded. She works there. She was on shift. She didn't have to drive there. She was already there. Then why did Kevin say they were both stuck in meetings? I don't know. I felt like I was going to be sick. If Rachel was at the hospital and Kevin left work at 3:20, they could have been together by 3:35, maybe 3:40. The ambulance didn't get called until 4:04. What were they doing for 30 minutes? Patricia started crying. I don't know. I don't understand any of this. I reached across the table and held her hand. The guard gave us a warning look but didn't say anything. There's more, Patricia said. I talked to Jennifer again. I told her I was worried about Kevin. She said something strange. She said Kevin keeps asking her if she thinks God punishes people for their sins. She said he's been going to church every day. He never went to church before. He feels guilty. But guilty about what? About Mia dying? Or about something else? I didn't have an answer. That night, I told Marcus everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he sat up on his bunk and looked down at me. So your son and his wife were both at the hospital before the ambulance was called. They knew Mia was in trouble. And they didn't do anything. I don't know if they knew. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they were just there for something else. For what? What else would they be doing at a hospital during the exact time their daughter was dying? I didn't want to think about it. But I had to. I need that footage, I said. I need to see it with my own eyes. I'll get word to Darius tomorrow. Give me your lawyer's contact information. Darius will send it directly to him. I gave Marcus the information for Lawrence Petty. He wrote it down on a scrap of paper and tucked it in his pillowcase. 3 days later, I got a call from Petty's office. The secretary said Mr. Petty needed to speak with me urgently. She put him on the line. Mr. Kane, I received the footage, and it's legitimate. I had an expert verify it. The metadata matches. The timestamps are accurate. The footage clearly shows a silver Nissan Altima with your son's license plate entering the county medical parking lot at 3:47 p.m. on the day your granddaughter died. The car parks in the far corner of the lot. 2 people get out, a man and a woman. The video quality isn't perfect, but the man matches your son's description, and the woman appears to be wearing medical scrubs. I couldn't breathe. Mr. Kane, are you there? Yes. The car stays parked for 19 minutes. At 4:06 p.m., the man and woman get back in the car and move it closer to the emergency room entrance. At 4:08 p.m., they exit the vehicle and run toward the ER. This is consistent with the timeline of the ambulance arriving at 4:04 p.m. and your son and daughter-in-law claiming they arrived just after. So they were there the whole time. It appears that way, but here's what I need to understand. Why? Why would they sit in a parking lot for 19 minutes while their daughter was dying inside the hospital? I don't know. There are only a few possibilities. 1, they didn't know she was dying. 2, they knew but were too scared to act. 3, they had another reason for being there that they're hiding. What other reason? That's what we need to find out. Mr. Kane, I'm going to file a motion for post-conviction relief based on newly discovered evidence. I'm going to argue that your conviction was based on false testimony from your son. I'm going to request a new trial, but I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Your son is going to have to explain himself. The prosecutor is going to fight this. The media is going to get involved. Are you prepared for that? Yes. Are you sure? Because once we start this, there's no going back. Your son's life is going to fall apart. Your daughter-in-law's life is going to fall apart. The truth is going to come out, and it might be worse than you think. I need to know what happened. All right. I'll file the motion next week. In the meantime, I need you to write down everything you remember from that day. Every detail, every conversation, every person you talked to, everything. Can you do that? Yes, good. I'll be in touch. He hung up. I went back to my cell and started writing. I wrote for 6 hours straight, filled 14 pages front and back. Every moment from the time Kevin called me to the time they pronounced Mia dead. Every word anyone said. Every face I saw. Everything. When I finished, it was almost midnight. Marcus was already asleep. I lay down on my bunk and closed my eyes, but sleep didn't come. I kept seeing Mia's face, her purple jacket with the unicorn, her drawing of our dog, the way she said Grandpa, always stretching out the last part, Grandpa, the way she laughed when I made funny voices, the way she held my hand when we crossed the street. Kevin and Rachel were at the hospital. They were there before anyone called for help. They sat in their car while Mia was dying. Why? Lawrence Petty filed the motion 2 weeks later. It was 37 pages long. It laid out everything. The footage. The timeline. The inconsistencies in Kevin's testimony. The expert analysis confirming the video was authentic. The request for a new trial. The prosecutor's office responded 3 weeks after that. They fought it hard. Said the footage didn't prove anything. Said Kevin and Rachel might have had legitimate reasons for being at the hospital. Said even if they were there early, it didn't change the fact that I was the one who left Mia in the truck. Said I was still guilty regardless of when Kevin arrived. Petty filed a response. Argued that Kevin's false testimony had prejudiced the jury. Argued that if the jury had known Kevin was already at the hospital, they might have questioned why he didn't act sooner. Argued that there was reasonable doubt about my culpability. The judge scheduled a hearing for June 15th, 3 months away. During those 3 months, everything changed. The story leaked to the media. A reporter from Channel 7 got hold of the court documents and ran a segment called New Evidence in Toddler Death Case. They showed my mugshot. They showed pictures of Mia. They interviewed legal experts who said if the footage was real, it raised serious questions about the original investigation. The story went viral. Within a week, it was on national news. People started taking sides. Some said I was still guilty, that I was trying to blame my son to get out of prison. Others said the footage proved reasonable doubt, that I deserved a new trial. Kevin and Rachel went into hiding. They stopped going to work. They stopped answering their phones. Someone on Reddit found their address and posted it online. People started showing up at their house. Reporters camped out on their lawn. Someone threw a brick through their window with a note that said child killers. Patricia called me 3 times a week. She was falling apart. She said people were harassing her at work. She said someone keyed her car. She said Kevin's friends were calling her asking what was going on. She didn't know what to tell them. The prosecutor offered a deal. They said if I withdrew the motion, they'd reduce my sentence to time served. I'd be out in 30 days. All I had to do was admit guilt and drop the appeal. Petty said it was a good deal. Said there was no guarantee we'd win at the hearing. Said even if we won, there was no guarantee I'd get a new trial. Said I could be home by August if I took the deal. I said no. Why not? Petty asked. We were in a private room at the prison, talking through reinforced glass. Because I need to know the truth. I need to know why Kevin was at the hospital. I need to know what he was doing while Mia was dying, even if it destroys him. Even if it destroys all of us. Petty nodded. All right, we go to the hearing. On June 10th, 5 days before the hearing, Patricia visited me. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. She sat down across from me and pulled out her phone. I need to show you something, she said. Jennifer sent this to me yesterday. She found it on Rachel's laptop. She turned the phone toward me. It was a screenshot of an email. The email was from Rachel to someone named Dr. Amit Patel. The date was the same day Mia died. The timestamp was 2:47 p.m. The email said, "Can we move our appointment to 3:45? Something came up with Kevin's work schedule. We really need to talk to you today." It's urgent. Who's Dr. Patel? I asked. He's a fertility specialist. Jennifer said Kevin and Rachel had been seeing him for months. They were having trouble getting pregnant again after Mia. They'd done IVF 3 times and it didn't work. They had an appointment scheduled with Dr. Patel that afternoon. My heart stopped. They went to a fertility appointment while I was picking up Mia. Jennifer thinks so. She said Kevin and Rachel had been desperate to have another baby. They'd spent over $40,000 on treatments. This appointment was supposed to be a consultation about trying a different procedure. Where's Dr. Patel's office? County Medical, 4th floor. Same building as the ER. Everything clicked into place. Kevin and Rachel weren't just at the hospital. They were there for an appointment. They were inside the building while Mia was dying in my truck in the parking lot. Did they go to the appointment? I asked. Jennifer doesn't know. But she said Rachel's been having nightmares about it. She said Rachel wakes up screaming that she should have canceled, that she should have gone to get Mia herself, that she chose the appointment over her daughter. I felt nauseous. They were inside the hospital. They could have walked out at any moment and seen the commotion in the parking lot. They could have helped her. Patricia started crying. I don't know what to do. This is worse than I thought. If this comes out at the hearing, Kevin and Rachel are going to be destroyed. Everyone's going to hate them. They'll lose everything. They should lose everything. Their daughter died while they were at a fertility appointment. They let me take the blame. They sent me to prison. They didn't know she was dying. They knew I had her. They knew I was supposed to take her home. They were at the same hospital. They could have checked. They could have called me. They did nothing. Patricia put her face in her hands. This is going to kill them. It already killed Mia. The hearing happened on June 15th at 9 in the morning. I was transported from Greenfield to the courthouse in Summit County. They put me in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. I sat at the defense table next to Lawrence Petty. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the back rows. Patricia was there. Some of Kevin's friends. Some of Rachel's co-workers. No Kevin. No Rachel. The judge was a woman named Helena Cross. She was in her 50s, had short gray hair, looked stern. She called the hearing to order and asked Petty to present his case. Petty stood up. He was wearing a dark suit and red tie. He looked confident. "Your Honor, we're here today because my client's conviction was based on false testimony. The evidence shows that Kevin Caney, the victim's father, lied under oath about when he arrived at County Medical. We have security footage that proves Mr. Kane and his wife were at the hospital 19 minutes before they called 911. This directly contradicts Mr. Kane's trial testimony. Had the jury known this information, there's a reasonable probability the outcome would have been different." The prosecutor stood up. His name was Dennis Farrow. He was young, maybe 35, and he looked angry. "Your Honor, this is a desperate attempt by a convicted felon to escape responsibility for his actions. Even if Kevin Kane was at the hospital earlier than he stated, that doesn't change the fact that Gerald Caney left a 4-year-old child alone in a hot vehicle. Gerald Caney is the one who walked into a hardware store and got distracted talking to a friend. Gerald Caney is the one who stayed inside for 15 minutes while his granddaughter suffered. The timing of Kevin Kane's arrival is irrelevant." Judge Cross looked at Petty. "Is the footage available for review?" "Yes, Your Honor. I have it on a digital display ready to present." "Show me." Petty set up a laptop connected to a large monitor. The courtroom lights dimmed. The footage started playing. The timestamp showed 3:47 p.m. A silver Nissan Altima pulled into the parking lot. It drove to the far corner, away from the entrance. The car parked. 2 figures got out. A man and a woman. They stood by the car for a moment, then walked toward the building. The footage jumped forward. 4:06 p.m. The man and woman returned to the car. They got in. The car moved across the lot to a spot near the ER entrance. They got out again and ran inside. The courtroom was silent. Judge Cross watched the entire thing without expression. When it ended, she said, "Who verified this footage?" "Digital forensics expert Martin Shaw. He analyzed the metadata and confirmed authenticity. I have his full report in my motion." "And the person who provided the footage?" "Darius Grant, security supervisor at County Medical. He's willing to testify?" Farrow stood up. "Your Honor, even if this footage is real, it proves nothing. Kevin Caney and his wife work in healthcare. They have legitimate reasons to be at that hospital. For all we know, they were inside seeing a patient or attending to work business. The defense hasn't established that they knew anything about Mia's condition during those 19 minutes. Petty pulled out a document. "Your Honor, I have an email sent by Rachel Kane on the day of the incident. It shows she requested to move an appointment with Dr. Amit Patel, a fertility specialist, to 3:45 p.m. that same day. Dr. Patel's office is located on the 4th floor of County Medical. We believe Kevin and Rachel Caney were inside the hospital attending this appointment while Mia was suffering in the parking lot." The courtroom erupted. People started talking. Reporters were typing on their phones. Judge Cross banged her gavel. "Order. I will have order." Everyone went quiet. Farrow looked shaken. "Your Honor, I was not aware of this email. I request time to review this new information." "You'll have time. But first I want to hear from Darius Grant." "Bailiff, bring him in." Darius Grant was a tall black man, maybe 40 years old, wearing a suit that looked too big for him. He looked nervous. He was sworn in and took the witness stand. Petty approached. "Mr. Grant, can you tell the court what you do for a living?" "I'm a security supervisor at County Medical. Been working there 12 years. What are your duties?" "I oversee the security staff, monitor camera systems, respond to incidents, review footage when necessary." "Were you working the day Mia Caney died?" "No, I was off that day. But I came in the next day and my supervisor asked me to pull all the footage from the parking lot and ER for the police investigation." "And what did you find?" "I found what you just showed the court. The silver Altima arriving at 3:47 p.m., the 2 people getting out, the car sitting there until after 4 p.m. Did you report this to the police?" "No, why not?" Darius shifted in his seat. "Because they didn't ask for it. They requested footage from 3:15 to 4:30, but they were focused on the area where the truck was parked and the ER entrance. They were building a timeline around Gerald Kane. They weren't looking at the whole parking lot. But you saw it." "Yes. And you thought it was important?" "I thought it was strange. I looked up the license plate and saw it belonged to Kevin Kane. Then I saw in the incident report that Kevin Caney was the father of the victim. It didn't make sense to me why his car would be there that early if he'd told police he arrived after the ambulance. So what did you do? I kept a copy of the footage. I wasn't supposed to. It's against hospital policy. But something felt wrong and I didn't want it to disappear. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Farrow stood up for cross-examination. He looked angry. Mr. Grant, you kept footage you were supposed to delete. Isn't that theft? I don't know, maybe. You violated hospital policy. You violated your employment contract. You broke your supervisor's trust. Correct? Yes. And now you're here testifying in a case where your unauthorized copy of footage is being used to attack the victim's family. Do you feel good about that? Darius looked at me. Then he looked at Farrow. I feel good about telling the truth. Farrow sat down. Judge Cross dismissed Darius and looked at both lawyers. I'm going to take a 30-minute recess. When we return, I want to hear from Dr. Amit Patel. Bailiff, make arrangements to have him brought in. The recess felt like hours. Petty and I sat in a side room. He looked tense. This is going well, he said. The judge is taking this seriously. What happens if Dr. Patel confirms they were at an appointment? Then we've established that Kevin and Rachel prioritized a fertility consultation over checking on their daughter. It doesn't make them legally responsible for Mia's death, but it raises serious questions about their credibility. And it shows the jury didn't have the full picture. Will I get a new trial? I think so, but nothing's guaranteed. We went back into the courtroom. Dr. Amit Patel was already on the stand. He was an older Indian man, maybe 60, with gray hair and glasses. He looked uncomfortable. Petty approached. Dr. Patel, do you know Rachel and Kevin Kane? Yes, they were my patients. For what? Fertility issues. They'd been trying to conceive for over a year after their first child was born. They underwent multiple IVF cycles. Did they have an appointment with you on the day their daughter died? Dr. Patel hesitated. I need to check my records. I can help with that. Petty handed him a document. This is an email from Rachel Kane requesting to move an appointment to 3:45 p.m. on the day in question. Do you recall this? Dr. Patel looked at the email. His face went pale. Yes, I remember now. Did they come to the appointment? Yes. What time did it start? Around 3:50 p.m. How long did it last? Approximately 30 minutes. What did you discuss? I can't disclose that. Doctor-patient confidentiality. Judge Cross leaned forward. Dr. Patel, the patients in question are not here to invoke privilege, and this information is material to a criminal case. I'm ordering you to answer. Dr. Patel looked miserable. We discussed their options for future fertility treatments. They were considering using a gestational carrier. They were also discussing egg donation because Rachel's egg quality had declined. How did they seem during the appointment? Stressed, emotional? Rachel was crying. Kevin seemed frustrated. They were under a lot of pressure. Did they mention anything about their daughter? Kevin mentioned he'd asked his father to pick her up from daycare because they couldn't miss this appointment. He said they'd already rescheduled twice and couldn't afford to wait any longer. The courtroom went crazy. People were gasping. Someone yelled, "Oh my God!" Judge Cross banged her gavel repeatedly. Petty waited for silence. So to be clear, Kevin Kane told you during the appointment that his father was picking up his daughter, and he chose to stay at the appointment rather than do it himself. Yes. What time did the appointment end? Around 4:20 p.m. Did anything unusual happen during or after the appointment? Dr. Patel nodded slowly. When we finished, Kevin and Rachel walked out to the lobby. That's when they saw the commotion. There were people running, hospital staff rushing around. Rachel asked a nurse what was happening, and the nurse said there was an emergency in the parking lot, that a child had been found in a hot car. The room went dead silent. What did Kevin and Rachel do? They looked at each other. Then they ran. They ran out of the office and down the stairs. Did you see them again after that? No. Thank you, Dr. Patel. Farrow declined to cross-examine. He looked defeated. Judge Cross looked at me. Mr. Kane, I'm going to take this matter under advisement. I'll issue a written decision within 2 weeks. This hearing is adjourned. The bailiffs took me back to a holding cell. Petty came to see me an hour later. That was good, he said. Really good. The judge is going to grant you a new trial. I'm almost certain. What happens to Kevin and Rachel? I don't know. That's not my problem. My problem is getting you out of here. But they were there. They heard about the emergency and they still didn't help. They waited until everyone knew before they acted, Petty nodded. They panicked. They realized what might have happened and they tried to cover it up. They moved their car closer to the ER so it would look like they'd just arrived. They pretended they'd come from work. They let you take the fall because it was easier than admitting they'd chosen a fertility appointment over their daughter's safety. Are they going to be charged? Maybe. If the prosecutor decides there's evidence of criminally negligent homicide or child endangerment, they could press charges. But that's separate from your case. I felt sick. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about Kevin and Rachel destroying their lives to hide their guilt. 2 weeks later, Judge Cross issued her decision. 53 pages. She granted my motion for post-conviction relief. She ordered a new trial. She stated that Kevin Kane's false testimony had been material to the jury's verdict, and that the newly discovered evidence created reasonable doubt. She also forwarded the matter to the prosecutor's office with a recommendation that they investigate Kevin and Rachel Kane for possible criminal charges. I was released on bail 3 days later. Patricia picked me up from Greenfield. I'd been in prison for 8 months and 12 days. The first thing I did was go to Mia's grave. It was in Oakwood Cemetery on the south side of town. Her headstone was small, white marble with her name and dates and a little engraved teddy bear. I stood there for an hour. I didn't cry. I just stood there. Patricia waited in the car. When I got back in, she said, "What now?" Now, we wait for the new trial. The prosecutor's office charged Kevin and Rachel 6 weeks later. 2 counts each of child endangerment and 1 count of obstruction of justice for lying to investigators. Their bail was set at $100,000 each. They couldn't afford it. They stayed in county jail awaiting trial. The media had a field day. The case became national news. The headlines were brutal. Parents chose fertility appointment over dying daughter. Grandfather wrongly imprisoned while parents hid the truth. Couple let 4-year-old die to cover their tracks. My new trial was scheduled for October, but it never happened. 2 weeks before trial, the prosecutor dropped all charges against me. They said in light of new evidence and witness testimony, they could no longer prove beyond reasonable doubt that my actions rose to the level of criminal negligence. I was free. Kevin and Rachel's trial happened in November. It lasted 2 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Dr. Patel testified. Darius testified. Rachel's co-worker testified that Rachel had left work early that day specifically for the appointment. Kevin's co-worker testified that Kevin had called it a family emergency, even though it was just a doctor's visit. The defense tried to argue that Kevin and Rachel didn't know Mia was in danger, that they couldn't have known she was in the parking lot suffering, that they were just trying to have another baby, but the jury didn't buy it. They convicted Kevin and Rachel on all counts. The judge sentenced them each to 6 years in state prison. Rachel was 5 months pregnant at sentencing. She gave birth to a boy in March while in county jail awaiting transfer to a women's facility. The baby was placed with Rachel's sister, Jennifer. Kevin went to Greenfield, same prison I'd been in. I heard through Patricia that he requested protective custody because other inmates knew who he was and what he'd done. I never visited him. I never wrote. I never called. Patricia tried once to get me to talk to him. Said he was falling apart. Said he was on suicide watch. Said he was begging to hear from me. I said no. Some people think I should forgive him. That he's my son. That he made a mistake. That he's suffering enough. But every time I think about forgiving him, I remember Mia. I remember her purple jacket with the unicorn. I remember her drawing of our dog. I remember her voice saying, "Grandpa." I remember that Kevin and Rachel were inside that hospital while she died. They heard about the emergency and they didn't help. They moved their car to cover their tracks. They let me go to prison for 8 months. They didn't make a mistake. They made a choice. And I have to live with the consequences of their choice for the rest of my life. So no, I don't forgive them. I don't think I ever will.